Hannah Whitmore's hands wouldn't stop shaking as she tore the wedding ring from her finger and pressed it into the little girl's palm. "Give this back to your father," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Tell him I'm sorry. Tell him everything I said was a lie." But Lily's small fingers closed around hers, holding tight. And for the first time in 2 years, the child who hadn't spoken above a whisper looked up with fierce eyes and said clearly, "No, you're my mama now. God sent you. I won't let you go." Stay with me until the end of this story. Subscribe and comment your city below so I can see how far this tale has traveled. The stagecoach hit a rut, and Hannah's forehead cracked against the window frame. She didn't flinch. After 6 years in Miriam's house, she'd learned not to react to pain. "You all right there, miss?" The passenger across from her, a whiskey drummer with tobacco-stained teeth, leaned forward with too much interest. "Fine," Hannah said. One word, no invitation. He got the message and went back to his flask. Hannah pressed her palm against the glass, watching Montana Territory roll past in shades of brown and gold. September. The aspens were turning. Somewhere ahead, a man named Jacob Brennan was waiting for a bride. Not her. Never her. The letter in her pocket burned like a brand. She'd read it so many times the creases had worn thin. "Dear Miss Josephine Whitmore, your letter gave me hope I thought was buried with my wife. Cedar Valley is a hard place, but it's honest. My daughter Lily is 6 years old and hasn't spoken above a whisper since her mother passed 2 years ago. The doctor says nothing's wrong with her voice. It's her heart that's wounded. I can offer you a solid home, honest work, and a child who needs gentleness. If you're willing to build a life here, I'll do everything in my power to make you happy. The stage arrives every Thursday. I'll be waiting. Yours in hope, Jacob Brennan. Yours in hope." Hannah wanted to laugh, or cry, or scream out the window at the vast empty sky. This man had written to Josie, beautiful golden Josie with her perfect curls and practiced smile. Josie who'd been engaged to Richard Worthington until his business collapsed, and suddenly a Montana rancher seemed too far beneath her. "She's not going to some God-forsaken wilderness," Miriam had announced 3 days ago. "But we can't simply ignore the correspondence. It would be improper." Hannah had been scrubbing the parlor floor, invisible as always. She hadn't even looked up. "You'll go instead." The scrub brush had frozen in Hannah's hand. "What? Don't gape like a fish, girl. It's unbecoming." Miriam had studied her nails, bored. "You'll take Josephine's name, marry this rancher, and that will be the end of it. One less mouth to feed." "I can't." "You can and you will." Miriam's voice had turned sharp as broken glass. "Unless you'd prefer I turn you out tonight with nothing but the clothes on your back. How long do you think you'd survive, Hannah? A woman alone. No money, no references, no family willing to claim her." Hannah had known the answer. Not long at all. So here she was, rattling toward a stranger's arms with a stolen name and a borrowed dress that hung loose on her thin frame. Going to deceive a grieving widower because she was too much of a coward to face the alternative. The coach lurched again. Through the dust-caked window, Hannah saw buildings taking shape. A church steeple, a general store, a livery stable. Cedar Valley. "End of the line," the driver called. Hannah's legs had gone numb. She forced them to move, forced herself to stand, forced herself to step down onto the hard-packed dirt of Main Street. The September sun hit her full in the face. She squinted, disoriented, her heart hammering so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. "Miss Whitmore." The voice came from her left. Deep, careful, uncertain. Hannah turned. He was taller than she'd imagined. Broad shoulders, straining against a worn brown coat. Dark hair with threads of silver at the temples, though he couldn't be more than 35. His face was weathered, lined by sun and wind, and something else. Something heavier. But his eyes, brown and warm, and so full of nervous hope that Hannah felt her chest crack open. "Miss Josephine Whitmore?" he asked again. Say no. Tell him the truth. Tell him right now. Yes. The lie came out barely louder than a breath. I'm Josephine. Relief flooded his features. His whole body seemed to unclench. Thank God. He reached for her bag, his movements gentle despite his obvious strength. I'm Jacob Brennan. I wasn't sure you'd actually come. I'm not her. I'm nobody. I'm a lie wrapped in my sister's dress. The journey was long, Hannah managed. I reckon it was. He gestured toward a buckboard wagon waiting nearby. The ranch is about 30 minutes out. Lily's home with Mrs. Morrison, our neighbor. She's been... He paused, searching for words. She's been anxious about meeting you. Hannah let him help her onto the wagon seat. His hand was calloused, work roughened. Real. When he touched her elbow, she flinched before she could stop herself. Jacob noticed. His brow furrowed. You all right, miss? Fine. Just tired. He didn't press, just climbed up beside her and clicked to the horses. They rode in silence for a while. The town fell away behind them, replaced by rolling grassland and stands of pine. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks already dusted with early snow. It's beautiful here, Hannah said, surprising herself. It is. Jacob kept his eyes on the road. Mary, my wife, she loved it. Said the mountains made her feel small in a good way. Like her problems weren't so big after all. How long has she been gone? 2 years come November. His jaw tightened. Complications from childbirth. The baby didn't make it either. A boy. We were going to call him Samuel. I'm sorry. Lily took it hardest. Jacob's voice dropped. She was 4. Old enough to understand her mama wasn't coming back too young to know how to carry that weight. She just stopped talking. Oh, she'll whisper when she has to. Answer direct questions. But the little girl who used to sing and chatter and fill up every room with noise? He shook his head. That girl disappeared the same day her mama did. Hannah felt something twist in her chest. Not guilt this time. Something sharper. Recognition. Children grieve differently, she said quietly. Sometimes silence is the only way they know to protect themselves. Jacob glanced at her, then really looked at her for the first time. That sounds like something a person says when they know it firsthand. Hannah turned away, watching the landscape roll past. My mother died when I was 7. The letters mentioned that. I'm sorry for your loss. The letters. Josie's letters filled with Hannah's stories, rewritten in elegant handwriting. Every painful memory Hannah had ever shared twisted into someone else's biography. It was a long time ago, Hannah said. They crested a hill and the ranch appeared below. A 2-story house built from logs and rough-hewn boards. A barn, a chicken coop, a vegetable garden going brown with autumn. Smoke curled from the chimney. It ain't much, Jacob said. The roof leaks when the snow gets heavy, and the porch sags something fierce. I'm better with cattle than carpentry. It's perfect. The word came out before Hannah could stop it, and she meant it. After 6 years in Miriam's pristine, loveless house, this weathered homestead looked like heaven. Jacob's face softened. Well, let's see if you still think so after you've lived through a Montana winter. He helped her down from the wagon. As her feet touched the ground, the front door opened. A woman emerged first. 50-ish gray-haired with the no-nonsense bearing of someone who'd survived frontier life through sheer stubbornness. About time, she called. I was starting to think you'd gotten lost. Aggie Morrison, Jacob said to Hannah. She's been a godsend since Mary passed. So this is the bride. Aggie's sharp eyes swept over Hannah, missing nothing. You're thinner than I expected. Those letters made you sound sturdy. Because Josie is sturdy. I'm the damaged one. The journey was difficult, Hannah said. It was becoming her standard excuse. Well, come inside. There's stew on the stove and fresh bread. You look like you haven't eaten a proper meal in months. Hannah followed Aggie into the house, Jacob close behind. The interior was simple but clean. A large main room with a stone fireplace, handmade furniture, a kitchen area with a cast iron stove. Stairs led to a second floor. "Lily," Jacob called. "Come down, sweetheart. Miss Whitmore is here." Silence. "She's been hiding in her room all morning," Aggie said quietly. "Wound up tighter than a pocket watch." "Lily," Jacob tried again. "Please, honey." A door creaked upstairs. Slow footsteps on the stairs. Small feet appeared, then legs, then a calico dress that was slightly too short. And then Hannah saw her face. Dark hair like her father's. Blue eyes like her mother must have had. A face too serious, too watchful for a 6-year-old. She moved like a ghost, weightless and wary, as if the world had taught her that making noise only brought pain. "I know you," Hannah thought. "I was you." Lily stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Her eyes found Hannah's and held. She didn't speak. Didn't move. "Hello, Lily." Hannah crouched down slowly, making herself small, non-threatening. "It's very nice to meet you." Nothing. "Your father told me you like stories. I like them too. Maybe sometime we could read together." Still nothing, but something flickered in those blue eyes. Interest. Hope, fear. "She doesn't talk much," Jacob said, his voice thick. "But she understands everything." Hannah didn't look away from Lily. "Some people talk too much," she said gently. "They fill up all the space with noise so they don't have to feel anything. But people who listen, who watch, who stay quiet until they have something worth saying, those are the people who really understand things. Don't you think?" Lily's head tilted slightly, considering. And then so slowly, Hannah almost missed it. The child took a step forward, then another, until she stood directly in front of Hannah, close enough to touch. Her small hand rose, trembling slightly, and she touched Hannah's cheek, her fingers tracing the line of her cheekbone with infinite gentleness. Hannah stopped breathing. "All right," Aggie said, her voice suspiciously rough. "Let's get some food in everyone before we all turn to statues." The moment broke. Lily stepped back, her expression closing again. But something had passed between them. Something that made Hannah's chest ache with a feeling she couldn't name. Lunch was simple, but plentiful. Hannah ate more than she had in months, suddenly aware of how hollow she'd become under Miriam's care. Aggie watched with approval. Jacob watched with something softer. And Lily watched with those two old eyes, tracking Hannah's every movement. "The letters mentioned you play piano," Jacob said. "I'm sorry we don't have one. Maybe someday if the cattle prices—" "I don't play," Hannah cut him off. "I mean not well. I exaggerated. Josie plays beautifully. I can barely manage a scale." "That's all right." Jacob's smile was kind. "Lily and I aren't musical anyway. I've got a voice like a crow with a cold." "Papa," Lily whispered, and Hannah saw Jacob's whole face light up at just that one word from his daughter. "It's true, little one. Ask anyone." After lunch, Aggie gathered her things to leave. At the door, she caught Hannah's arm. "You're not what I expected," she said quietly. Hannah's heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" "From the letters, I thought you'd be more polished, full of yourself." Aggie's eyes were sharp-seeing. "But you're quiet, gentle, good with Lily." "I'm just me." Aggie studied her for a long moment. "Whatever you are, that child took to you faster than she's taken to anyone in 2 years. That means something. Don't waste it." She was gone before Hannah could respond. That afternoon, Lily shadowed Hannah everywhere. When Hannah explored the house, Lily followed. When Hannah started tidying the kitchen, Lily helped. When Hannah sat by the window to rest her eyes, Lily climbed into the chair beside her and leaned against her arm. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. "This is wrong," Hannah thought. I'm deceiving them. This child is giving me her trust and I'm accepting it with lies. But she didn't pull away. Couldn't pull away. Because for the first time in 6 years, someone was choosing to be near her. Someone wanted her presence, her warmth, her existence. It was intoxicating, terrifying, wonderful. By evening, Hannah had discovered that managing a household came naturally when no one was screaming at her for every mistake. She could cook well enough when she wasn't afraid of being struck. She could create warmth and order when she wasn't being told she was worthless. Jacob came in from the fields as the sun was setting. He stopped in the doorway looking around with wonder. "You moved the furniture. I hope that's all right. I thought the chairs would get better light by the window, and the table seemed cramped against the wall." "It's perfect." His voice was rough. It looks like someone lives here again." Hannah didn't know what to say to that. "Papa?" Lily appeared at his side, tugging his sleeve. "Miss Whitmore told me a story about a princess who couldn't speak and a kingdom made of silence." Jacob's eyes met Hannah's over his daughter's head. Wet, grateful, overwhelmed. Did she now? It was a good story. Lily's whisper was almost animated. The princess found her voice again at the end, when she had something worth saying. And what was that? What was worth saying? Lily glanced at Hannah, then back at her father. "Stay." That's what the princess said. She told the good people, "Stay." The silence that followed was heavy with meaning. Hannah was afraid to examine. That night after Lily was in bed, Hannah sat with Jacob by the fire. He'd given her the larger bedroom upstairs. He was sleeping on a cot in the corner of the main room, refusing to presume anything. "I meant what I said in my letters," he told her quietly. "About taking things slow, about giving you time to be sure. I know. The ceremony can wait. A week, a month, however long you need." He stared into the flames. "I just want you to be happy here, Josie. I want this to feel like home." Josie. The name was a knife. "It already does," Hannah whispered. And God help her, it was true. She climbed the stairs to her room, leaving Jacob below. At the top, she paused by Lily's door, slightly ajar. "Miss Whitmore." The whisper came from inside. Hannah pushed the door open to find Lily sitting up in bed, her wooden doll clutched in her arms. "Yes, sweetheart." "Are you going to stay?" Such a simple question, such an impossible answer. "I want to," Hannah said. "Promise." Hannah crossed to the bed and sat on the edge. Lily immediately curled against her side, small and warm and trusting. "I can't promise," Hannah said honestly. "Sometimes things happen that we can't control, but I can promise that I'll try. I'll try very hard to stay." "Okay." Lily's voice was already growing sleepy. "I like you better than the letters." Hannah's heart stopped. "What?" "Papa read them to me. The letters from Miss Josie. They sounded fancy, like they were trying too hard." Lily yawned. "You don't try too hard. You're just real. That's better." Out of the mouths of babes. Hannah stayed until Lily was asleep, her small chest rising and falling with steady breaths. Then she crept to her own room and sat on the bed in the darkness, the weight of her deception pressing down like a physical force. This child, this precious wounded child, had seen through to something true, even in the midst of all Hannah's lies. Had recognized something real beneath the borrowed name and stolen identity. Was that redemption, or just a deeper kind of damnation Hannah didn't know? She only knew that tomorrow she would wake up in this house with this family wearing this lie like a second skin, and God help her, she didn't want it any other way. Through the thin wall, she heard Lily talking in her sleep. Just one word repeated like a prayer. "Stay, stay, stay." Hannah pressed her fist against her mouth to stifle a sob. "I will," she whispered back. "I'll try. I promise I'll try." It was a promise built on deception, a vow made in a name that wasn't hers. But in the darkness of that Montana night, with a child's faith wrapped around her heart like chains of gold, Hannah meant it with everything she had. She would stay, whatever the cost, whatever the reckoning. She would stay. The first week passed like a dream. Hannah was afraid to wake from. She learned the rhythms of the Brennan household. Jacob rose before dawn, his boots heavy on the stairs, the smell of coffee drifting up to her room. Lily woke with the sun padding softly to Hannah's door, waiting there until Hannah opened it. "Good morning, sweetheart." Lily smiled. Not a word. But she reached up and took Hannah's hand, leading her downstairs, as if Hannah might get lost without guidance. By the third day, Hannah had reorganized the kitchen. By the fourth, she'd mended every piece of clothing with a torn seam. By the fifth, she'd coaxed a pie from the ancient oven, and Jacob had looked at her like she'd performed a miracle. "Mary used to make pie," he said quietly. "Apple, from the orchard she planted. I saw the trees, they're beautiful. She never got to see them bear fruit." His voice caught. She would have loved this. Hannah didn't know what to say. She was standing in a dead woman's kitchen, wearing a stolen name accepting praise that belonged to someone else. But Lily was tugging at her skirt, pointing at the pie, and the moment passed. On Sunday they went to church. Hannah had dreaded it all week. The townspeople, the questions, the lies she'd have to tell to strangers' faces. "You don't have to come," Jacob had offered, "if you're not feeling up to it." "No." Hannah had straightened her spine. "I want to meet them, your neighbors, your community." "Your community now," a voice whispered, "if you can keep the lie alive." The church was small, white-steepled, packed with families in their Sunday best. Every head turned when Jacob walked in with Hannah on one arm and Lily holding his other hand. "That's her," someone whispered. "The mail-order bride." "Pretty enough, I suppose." "Not what I expected from those letters." Hannah kept her eyes forward, her chin up. Miriam had taught her that much. Never let them see you flinch. Jacob Brennan. A woman stepped into their path. 40-ish blonde, going gray, with a face that might have been kind if it wasn't so pinched. "Aren't you going to introduce us?" "Mrs. Harmon." Jacob's voice cooled slightly. "This is Miss Josephine Whitmore. Josie, this is Beatrice Harmon. She was a friend of Mary's." Her dearest friend. Beatrice's eyes swept over Hannah, cataloging every flaw. "You're not what I pictured from your correspondence." "People rarely are." "Indeed." Beatrice's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Mary used to say she could tell a person's character from their handwriting. I wonder what she would have made of yours." The threat was subtle, but clear. Hannah felt her stomach drop. "I reckon Mary would have wanted me to move on," Jacob said firmly. "She made me promise." "Did she?" Beatrice's voice dripped honey. "Funny. She never mentioned that to me. There's a lot of things a wife tells her husband that she don't tell her friends." Jacob's hand found Hannah's elbow, steering her toward a pew. "Excuse us, Mrs. Harmon. Service is starting." They sat. Lily pressed against Hannah's side, her small hand finding Hannah's under the folds of her skirt. "Don't mind Beatrice," Jacob murmured. "She means well. She took Mary's death hard." "I understand." But Hannah felt Beatrice's eyes on her throughout the entire service, watching, waiting, knowing something was wrong even if she couldn't name what. After church, more introductions. Martha Dalton from the general store, warm and gossipy. Samuel Chen, the laundryman who bowed politely and said little. The Callahan family with their 6 red-headed children, loud and chaotic and wonderful. "You'll fit right in," Martha assured her. "Cedar Valley's rough around the edges, but we look after our own." "I'm not your own," Hannah thought. "I'm an imposter." But she smiled and nodded and said all the right things. On the ride home, Lily fell asleep against Hannah's shoulder. Jacob drove in silence for a while, then spoke without looking at her. "Beatrice won't make this easy." "I noticed. She thinks no one will ever be good enough to replace Mary. Truth is, she's right. No one will replace her. But that don't mean I have to spend the rest of my life alone." "What was she like?" Hannah asked. Mary. Jacob was quiet so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Kind, he finally said. The kindest person I ever knew. She saw good in everyone, even folks who didn't deserve it. She used to say everyone was carrying something heavy, and you never knew what it was just by looking. He paused. She would have liked you. Hannah's throat tightened. You can't know that. I can. Because Lily likes you, and Lily's got her mama's gift. She knows people, right down to their bones. Hannah looked at the sleeping child in her arms and felt something crack inside her chest. She doesn't know me. She knows the lie I'm wearing. But was that true? Lily had said she liked Hannah better than the letters. Had seen something real beneath the deception. The thought was terrifying. And wonderful. And impossible to untangle. That night after dinner, Lily brought Hannah a book. A worn collection of fairy tales with faded illustrations. Read, she whispered. Hannah settled into the rocking chair by the fire. Lily climbed into her lap without hesitation, warm and trusting. Once upon a time, Hannah began, there lived a princess who couldn't speak. She made up the story as she went. A princess trapped in silence, not because she'd lost her voice, but because she was afraid of what would happen if she used it. A kingdom where words could be weapons, where speaking meant danger. Lily listened rapt. What happened? She whispered when Hannah paused. Did she ever talk again? She did, but only when she found people who made it safe, people who wouldn't hurt her for what she said. Like here. Lily looked up at her. Is here safe? Hannah's heart stopped. I think so, sweetheart. I think here is very safe. Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, Mama made it safe, before she went to heaven. Papa tries, but he's too sad sometimes. He forgets to be safe. What do you mean? He gets the nightmares. Lily's voice dropped even lower. He doesn't know I hear. But I do. He yells sometimes, and cries. Then in the morning he pretends it didn't happen. Hannah looked across the room at Jacob, who was mending a bridle by the fire, oblivious to their whispered conversation. What does he yell about? The war. Names I don't know. He says get down a lot. And behind you. And sometimes he says, I'm sorry, over and over. Hannah's chest ached. This man, this good man, who'd offered her safety and kindness, was carrying his own invisible wounds. Maybe, she said carefully, you could be safe for him too. When he's sad, you could be the person who makes it okay. Lily considered this. Can you help? I can try. Okay. Lily snuggled deeper into Hannah's arms. I like you, Miss Whitmore. I like you too, Lily. I'm glad you came instead of the letter lady. Hannah froze. What do you mean? The lady in the letters sounded fancy, like she wouldn't want to get her dress dirty. You're not fancy. You're real. Lily yawned. Real is better. After Lily was asleep, Hannah sat by the fire watching Jacob work on the bridle. His hands were steady, competent, roughened by years of labor. She talked more today than she has in months, Jacob said without looking up. She told Mrs. Morrison you're teaching her to make bread. She's a quick learner. She's attached to you. He set down the bridle and met her eyes. Already, after just a week. Is that a problem? No. His voice was rough. It's a miracle. But it scares me. Why? Because if you leave... He stopped. Started again. If you decide this life isn't for you, if you go back east, she'll break all over again. And I don't know if I can put her back together a second time. Hannah's hands knotted in her lap. I'm not planning to leave. Plans change. People change their minds. I just need to know, Josie, are you committed to this to us? Because if there's any doubt in your heart, tell me now, before it goes any further. The lie sat on Hannah's tongue, heavy as a stone. Tell him. Tell him right now. Tell him your name isn't Josie. and you're here under false pretenses, and everything he thinks he knows about you is wrong." But she thought of Lily's hand in hers. Lily's whispered words. Lily's trust freely given, and she couldn't do it. "I'm committed," she said. "I'm not going anywhere." Jacob's face broke into a smile so warm it hurt to look at. "Then I reckon we should talk about the wedding. Reverend Whitfield's been asking." "Whenever you're ready." "Next Sunday after service. Unless that's too soon." Too soon. Too fast. Too many lies piling up like stones. Next Sunday is perfect. That night, Hannah lay awake staring at the ceiling. In 8 days, she would marry Jacob Brennan. In 8 days, she would stand before God and this community and promise to love, honor, and cherish. In 8 days, she would become a wife, a mother, a fraud. She turned her face into the pillow and wept. The week before the wedding passed in a blur. Aggie Morrison arrived with fabric for a dress. "Nothing fancy," she said, "but better than those worn things you came with." "You don't have to." "Hush, let me do something nice for once." The other women came too. Martha Dalton with her endless gossip. Sarah Chen quiet and gentle. Emily Callahan, barely 20, already mother to 2 with a third on the way. They measured Hannah-pinned fabric, shared stories about their own weddings. Some had been love matches. Others had been arrangements, practical decisions that grew into something deeper over time. "Jacob's a good man," Martha said. "The best in Cedar Valley, if you ask me. Mary was lucky to have him." "I know she was. And now you're lucky too." Martha patted Hannah's hand. "Don't let Beatrice Harmon convince you otherwise. She's been bitter since her own husband ran off with that saloon girl 5 years back. Takes it out on everyone else." "I'll remember that." But Beatrice wasn't finished. On Thursday, 3 days before the wedding, Hannah went into town for supplies. She was examining fabric at the general store when a shadow fell over her. "Miss Whitmore, or should I say the future Mrs. Brennan?" Hannah straightened. "Mrs. Harmon? I've been doing some thinking." Beatrice's smile was razor sharp. "About you. About those letters you sent." Hannah's blood went cold. "What about them?" "I read them, you know. Jacob shared them with me back when he first got the idea to send for a bride. He wanted my opinion, Mary's best friend's opinion. And the woman in those letters was confident, accomplished. She talked about her piano playing, her needlework, her charity work with the church." Beatrice leaned closer. "But you, Miss Whitmore, you can't play a note. I asked Mrs. Morrison. She said you admitted as much to Jacob." Hannah forced herself to breathe. "I may have exaggerated my abilities." "May have. You also wrote about growing up on a prosperous farm, learning to ride at 5, managing your widowed mother's household." Every word a knife. Every sentence another lie Hannah hadn't written, but now had to defend. People embellish in letters. You know how correspondence works. "I know how deception works." Beatrice's voice dropped to a hiss. "I don't know what you're hiding, Miss Whitmore, but I will find out. And when I do, I'll make sure Jacob knows exactly what kind of woman he's marrying." She swept out of the store, leaving Hannah trembling among the bolts of calico. She knows. She doesn't have proof yet, but she knows. Hannah's hands wouldn't stop shaking the whole ride home. That evening she tried to act normal, helped Lily with her letters, made dinner, smiled at Jacob's stories about the cattle. But after Lily was in bed, she sat by the fire and couldn't stop her mind from spinning. "I have to tell him. Before the wedding. Before Beatrice digs up something worse." "You're quiet tonight." Jacob settled into the chair across from her. "Everything all right?" "Fine." "You're lying." His voice was gentle, not accusing. "I can always tell. Your hands do this thing." He gestured. "They twist together when something's bothering you." Hannah looked down. Her hands were knotted in her lap, white-knuckled. "Tell me," Jacob said. "Whatever it is. Now. Tell him now." I ran into Mrs. Harmon in town. Jacob's expression darkened. What did she say? She mentioned the letters, said some of the things I wrote didn't match who I actually am. And she's right. Hannah's voice cracked. I exaggerated. I made myself sound better than I am. I was afraid if I told the truth you wouldn't want me. Jacob was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood cross to her chair and knelt in front of her. Josie. He took her twisted hands in his. I don't care about piano playing or needlework or whatever else you think you should be. I care about how Lily looks at you. I care about how this house feels like a home again. I care about the woman who sits up late telling stories and gets up early to make breakfast and never once complained about the state of my cooking. Tears slipped down Hannah's cheeks. That's the woman I want to marry, Jacob continued. Not some fancy version from a letter. You. Just me. But you don't know who me is. Jacob, there's something. Papa. They both turned. Lily stood at the bottom of the stairs, her doll clutched to her chest. What is it, sweetheart? Jacob asked. I had a nightmare. Lily's eyes found Hannah. Can Miss Whitmore come? Hannah wiped her face quickly. Of course, honey. She spent the next hour in Lily's room, holding the child, stroking her hair, singing softly until the nightmare faded and sleep returned. When she finally crept downstairs, Jacob was still by the fire. What were you going to tell me? He asked. Before Lily came down. The moment had passed. The courage had faded. The words she should have said died in her throat. Nothing important, Hannah lied. It can wait. Jacob searched her face for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right. Get some sleep. Big day coming. Hannah climbed the stairs. 3 days until the wedding. 3 days until the lie became permanent. 3 days to find the courage to tell the truth, or accept the consequences of staying silent. She lay in bed and listened to the wind howl outside and felt the walls of her deception closing in around her. Saturday night. The eve of the wedding. Hannah couldn't sleep. She'd tried for hours, tossing and turning, her mind racing through every terrible possibility. Finally, she gave up, wrapped a shawl around her shoulders, and crept downstairs. The fire had burned low. Hannah added a log, watching the sparks spiral upward. Can't sleep either. She spun. Jacob stood in the shadows by his cot, wearing only his shirt and trousers, his hair mussed from tossing. Sorry, Hannah said. Did I wake you? No, I was already up. He moved to the fire, stood beside her. Thinking too much. About tomorrow. About everything. He was quiet for a moment. About whether I'm doing the right thing. Asking you to take on this life. This broken little family. You're not broken. Aren't we? His laugh was hollow. A man who still dreams about a war that ended 13 years ago. A child who stopped talking after her mama died. We're held together with spit and prayers, Josie. That's the truth. Maybe that's enough. Hannah's voice was soft. Maybe being held together at all is the miracle. Jacob turned to look at her. In the firelight, his face was all shadows and angles. Why did you come here? He asked. Really, not the version from the letters. The truth. Hannah's heart hammered. I wanted a new start. From what? From a stepmother who used me as a servant. From a sister who stole my stories. From a life where I was invisible, worthless, unwanted. From everything, she whispered. Jacob nodded slowly. I came west for the same reason. After the war, I couldn't be who I'd been before. Too much blood on my hands. Too many friends buried in fields I'll never see again. Mary saved me, you know. Gave me something to live for besides the nightmares. And now I have Lily. And maybe... He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind Hannah's ear. Maybe something more. If you'll have me. Hannah's breath caught, His hand was warm against her cheek. His eyes were so soft, so hopeful. "I'll have you," she whispered. He kissed her, gentle at first, questioning. Then deeper, more urgent years of loneliness pouring out in the press of his lips against hers. Hannah kissed him back. Forgot to be afraid. Forgot to be guilty. Forgot everything except the taste of him, the warmth of him, the solid reality of his arms around her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jacob rested his forehead against hers. "Tomorrow," he said. "We start our life tomorrow." "Tomorrow," Hannah agreed. He walked her to the bottom of the stairs, kissed her once more, soft and sweet. "Sleep well, Josie." The name was wrong. Everything was wrong. But in that moment, Hannah didn't care. "Sleep well, Jacob." She climbed the stairs in a daze. Tomorrow she would become Mrs. Jacob Brennan. Tomorrow she would claim this family, this home, this love. Tomorrow the lie would be sealed with vows and rings and promises she had no right to make. But tonight she'd been kissed by a man who thought he knew her, and God help her, she'd kissed him back. She fell asleep with the taste of him still on her lips and the weight of her deception heavy on her heart. Tomorrow came too fast. Hannah woke to Lily bouncing on her bed, her face bright with excitement. "It's the day. It's the day you're going to be my mama today." Hannah caught the child in a hug, burying her face in Lily's dark hair. "That's right, sweetheart. Today's the day." Aggie arrived an hour later with the finished dress. Blue cotton with white lace at the collar. Simple, but beautiful. "You look like a proper bride," Aggie said, stepping back to admire her work. Hannah studied herself in the small mirror. She barely recognized the woman looking back. Hair pinned up with care, cheeks flushed, eyes bright with something that might have been happiness or might have been terror. This is really happening. The ride to church was silent. Jacob kept glancing at her, a small smile playing on his lips. Lily sat between them, practically vibrating with excitement. The church was packed. Every family in Cedar Valley had turned out. Hannah saw Martha Dalton dabbing her eyes, Samuel Chen nodding solemnly, the Callahan children squirming in their pew, and Beatrice Harmon standing at the back, her expression unreadable. Reverend Whitfield took his place at the front. Jacob led Hannah to stand before him, Lily at their side. "Dearly beloved," the Reverend began, "we are gathered here in the sight of God." The words washed over Hannah like a tide. She heard them, but couldn't process them. Her heart was pounding too loud, her thoughts too scattered. This is it, the last chance, the last moment to tell the truth. "Do you, Jacob Brennan, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do." "And do you, Josephine Whitmore?" "That's not my name. That's not my name. That's not my name." "Take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband." The church was silent, everyone watching, everyone waiting. Hannah opened her mouth. "Say no. Say the truth. Say your name is Hannah and you're a fraud and you don't deserve any of this." But Lily's hand found hers, small, warm, trusting, and Rose's voice from the first night echoed in her memory. "Stay, stay, stay." "I do," Hannah whispered. The words fell like stones into still water. "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife." Jacob kissed her. The congregation applauded. Lily cheered, and Hannah felt the trap close around her, golden and terrible and complete. She was Mrs. Jacob Brennan now, for better or worse, till death or discovery do them part. 3 weeks of marriage. 3 weeks of waking up beside Jacob, his warmth seeping into her bones. 3 weeks of Lily calling her Mama without hesitation. 3 weeks of building something real on a foundation of lies. Hannah had never been happier, or more terrified. The guilt came in waves now. Some days she could push it down, bury it beneath the joy of belonging. Other days it rose up and choked her left, her gasping in the dark while Jacob slept peacefully beside her. He'd moved upstairs after the wedding, into her room. Their room now. The first night he'd held her face in his hands and said, "We go as slow as you need." She'd answered by pulling him close. Now she knew the sound of his breathing in sleep, the way he curled around her when the nightmares came, the words he whispered in the dark names of men long dead, battles long lost. Gettysburg, he'd muttered once, thrashing against demons she couldn't see. "Behind you. Get down, get down." She'd held him until he stilled, stroked his hair until the tension left his shoulders. "I'm sorry," he'd said in the morning, shame coloring his cheeks. "I thought they'd stopped." "Don't apologize. Not for that. Not ever." He'd kissed her then, soft and grateful, and she'd felt like the worst person alive, because she was letting him believe she was someone else, someone who deserved his trust, someone who hadn't stolen her way into his bed, his heart, his family. It was on a Tuesday that everything changed. Hannah was in the kitchen teaching Lily to knead bread when she heard the wagon. "Someone's coming," Lily said, her hands still buried in dough. Hannah wiped her palms on her apron and moved to the window. The wagon was unfamiliar, driven by a man she'd never seen. Beside him sat a woman. Even from a distance, Hannah knew. Golden hair, perfect posture, a traveling dress too fine for Montana territory. The blood drained from her face. "Mama, what's wrong?" Hannah couldn't speak, couldn't move, could only watch as the wagon drew closer and her worst nightmare stepped down onto the dirt of the yard. Josephine Whitmore had come to Cedar Valley. "My goodness," Josie's voice carried through the open window, dripping with disdain. "What a quaint little homestead, though I must say it's rather more primitive than the letters suggested." Hannah's legs moved without her permission. She found herself at the door, stepping onto the sagging porch, placing herself between Josie and the house. "Hello, sister." The word hung between them like a blade. Josie's smile was sharp as broken glass. "Hannah, you look, well, country life seems to suit you. What are you doing here?" "Isn't it obvious?" Josie spread her hands. "I've come to claim what's mine." The front door banged open. Jacob emerged, alerted by voices, his face shifting from confusion to wariness as he took in the scene. "Can I help you folks?" Josie turned to him, and Hannah watched her sister transform. The disdain melted away, replaced by warmth, charm, the practiced sweetness that had fooled everyone back in St. Louis. "Mr. Brennan, I presume." Josie extended her gloved hand. "I'm so sorry to arrive unannounced like this. I'm Josephine Whitmore, the real Josephine Whitmore." Jacob went still. His eyes cut to Hannah, then back to Josie. "I don't understand." "Of course you don't, you poor man." Josie's voice dripped sympathy. "You've been terribly deceived. That woman there," she pointed at Hannah. "That's not Josephine Whitmore. That's Hannah Whitmore, my older sister, a spinster who apparently decided to steal my correspondence and my future." The world tilted. Hannah watched Jacob's face change, confusion giving way to realization, realization giving way to something worse. "Hannah." He said the name like it was foreign, like he'd never heard it before. "Jacob, please. Let me explain." "Is it true?" His voice was quiet. "Dangerous." "Is any of what she's saying true?" Hannah's mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Yes." One word. The end of everything. Jacob staggered back like she'd struck him. "The letters, the name, everything you told me." His voice cracked. "All of it was lies." "Not everything. The stories in those letters, the experiences, the losses. Those were mine. My mother's death, my loneliness, my hope for something better. Josie just wrote them down in her handwriting because our stepmother told her to." "But you came here pretending to be her." "I had no choice. Miriam forced me onto that coach. She said I'd go as Josie or I'd go to the streets. You had a choice. Jacob's hands clenched at his sides. You could have told me the truth. That first day. That first moment. You could have said, "My name is Hannah," and let me decide what to do about it. I was scared. Of what? Of being sent back. Of losing the first chance at happiness I'd ever been given. Tears streamed down Hannah's face. Of losing you and Lily before I even had you. So you lied instead. His voice was hollow. You let me court you, marry you, take you to my bed, all while wearing another woman's name. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Sorry. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're sorry. Well, this is all very touching. Josie's voice cut through like a knife. But it doesn't change the facts. Hannah deceived you, Mr. Brennan. She stole my identity, my correspondence, my future. And now here I am, the woman you actually proposed to, ready to honor the commitment you thought you were making. Jacob stared at Josie like he was seeing her for the first time. You want me to marry you instead. Isn't that the obvious solution? The marriage to Hannah isn't even legal. You said vows to Josephine Whitmore. I'm Josephine Whitmore. Hannah is nobody. Papa. Everyone froze. Lily stood in the doorway, her face pale, her eyes wide with confusion and growing fear. Lily. Jacob's voice softened. Go back inside, sweetheart. Why is that lady being mean to Mama? She's not your mother, you foolish child. Josie's mask slipped, revealing the venom underneath. She's an imposter, a fraud who tricked your father into marriage. That's enough. Jacob stepped forward, his body blocking Lily from Josie's view. You don't talk to my daughter that way. Your daughter needs to understand the truth. She's 6 years old. Old enough to know she's been living with a liar. I said that's enough. Jacob's voice cracked like a whip. Mr. He looked at the wagon driver. What's your name? Grimby, sir. I was just hired to drive her here. Mr. Grimby, take Miss Whitmore back to town. She can stay at the hotel until the next stage east. Josie's composure shattered. You can't be serious. I'm the one you sent for. She's the imposter. I have the original letters. I can prove who I am. I don't care about letters. Jacob's jaw was tight. I don't care about names or handwriting or whatever proof you think you have. What I care about is that you just called my daughter foolish. What I care about is that you're standing in my yard, spitting poison, thinking you can waltz in here and claim a life you've never wanted. The marriage isn't legal. Then I'll deal with that. But I won't deal with you. He pointed toward the wagon. Leave. Now. You'll regret this. Josie's face twisted with fury. Both of you will regret this. When you realize what she really is, what she's always been, a desperate, plain, pathetic liar, you'll wish you'd chosen differently. Probably. But that's my mistake to make. Jacob didn't flinch. Now get off my property before I lose what's left of my patience. Josie stared at him for a long moment, her perfect features ugly with rage. Then she turned to Hannah. This isn't over, sister. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. Every person in this pathetic little town will know you're a fraud. Then they'll know, Hannah said quietly. I'm done hiding. Something flickered in Josie's eyes. Surprise, maybe, or the faintest hint of respect. Then she was climbing back into the wagon, snapping at Mr. Grimby to go, and the horses were moving, and Hannah watched her sister disappear down the road in a cloud of dust. The silence that followed was deafening. Papa? Lily's voice was small. Is Mama leaving? Jacob didn't answer. He was staring at Hannah with an expression she couldn't read. Lily, go inside. But, now Lily, please. The child looked between them, her lower lip trembling. Then she ran, not inside but to Hannah, threw her arms around Hannah's waist and held on tight. Don't go, she whispered. Please don't go. I don't care what your name is. Don't go. Hannah knelt down, took Lily's face in her hands. I need to talk to your papa, sweetheart. Just talk. Can you go inside and wait for us? Promise you won't leave." Hannah looked up at Jacob. His face was stone. "I promise I won't leave without saying goodbye. Can you accept that for now?" Lily's chin wobbled, but she nodded. "Okay. But if you leave, I'm coming with you." She ran inside the door, slamming behind her. And then it was just Hannah and Jacob standing in the yard where everything had just fallen apart. "Say something," Hannah whispered. "I don't know what to say." "Anything. Yell at me. Tell me you hate me. Tell me to leave." "Is that what you want, to leave?" "No." Her voice broke. "I want to stay. I want to be your wife, Lily's mother, part of this family. I want it so much, it's killing me. But I understand if you can't." "Can't what?" "Forgive you." Jacob laughed harsh and hollow. "I don't even know who you are. Everything I thought I knew, every moment we've shared, all of it was based on a lie." "Not all of it." Hannah stepped toward him. "The lie was the name. Just the name. Everything else, the way I feel about you, the way I love Lily, the way I've tried to make this house a home. That was all me. Hannah. The real me." "Hannah," and he said it like he was testing it. "I don't even know what to call you. Call me whatever you want. Call me nothing. Just please, please let me explain." "Explain what?" "That your stepmother forced you onto a coach, that your sister wrote letters using your stories. I heard all that. It doesn't change what you did." "No, it doesn't." Hannah's tears fell freely now. "What I did was wrong. I knew it was wrong from the first moment, but Jacob, I was desperate. You don't know what my life was like in that house. 6 years of being treated like less than nothing. 6 years of being told I was worthless, unwanted, damaged goods. When Miriam put me on that coach, when she told me to become Josie or end up on the streets, I didn't see it as deception. I saw it as survival. And after, when you got here, when you saw who I was, what I was offering, you could have told me then. I tried. That first night I almost did. And then I met Lily." Jacob's face shifted. Pain flickered through the anger. "She touched my face," Hannah continued. "This broken, silent child who hadn't trusted anyone in 2 years. She touched my face like I was something precious. And I thought, if I tell the truth, I lose this. I lose her. And I couldn't do it. I was too selfish, too desperate, too scared. So you let it go on." "Yes." Day after day I told myself I'd confess tomorrow. And tomorrow became next week, and next week became the wedding. And then we were married, and it was too late. The lie had become my whole life. Jacob was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "The night before the wedding, by the fire, you started to tell me something, before Lily came down." Hannah's breath caught. "You remember that?" "I remember everything." He looked at her, then really looked, and she saw the war raging behind his eyes. "You were going to tell me the truth, weren't you? And I stopped you. I told you it could wait. I should have pushed harder. I should have made you listen. Maybe. Or maybe I didn't want to hear it." He ran a hand through his hair. "Maybe part of me knew something was off and chose to ignore it because I wanted this too badly." "Wanted what?" "A family again. A wife. Someone to fill up the silence in this house." His voice cracked. "Someone for Lily to love who might actually stay. I'm still here, Jacob. I haven't gone anywhere." "But can you stay? I mean..." He stepped closer, his eyes searching her face. "If I let this go, if I try to forgive you, can you promise me there are no more lies? No more secrets? Can you be Hannah, whoever Hannah is, completely and honestly?" "Yes." She said it without hesitation. "I can. I will. I swear it. And if someone finds out, if Josie makes good on her threats and tells the whole town, then we face it together. I'll stand in front of everyone and tell them the truth myself if that's what it takes." Jacob was quiet. The silence stretched between them, heavy with possibility. Then he reached out and took her hand. "Hannah," he said, testing the name again. "Hannah Brennan, my wife." She couldn't breathe. "You're not sending me away." "I should. Any sensible man would." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "But I've never been accused of being sensible. And Lily." He glanced toward the house. "She needs you, maybe more than she needs the truth." "And you, what do you need?" He pulled her closer, rested his forehead against hers. "I need to know who I married. The real you. Not Josie's letters, not the performance you put on. Just Hannah." "Hannah is boring," she whispered. "Hannah can't play piano. Hannah can't make charming conversation. Hannah spent 6 years scrubbing floors and being told she was worthless. Hannah raised my daughter from the dead." His voice was fierce. "Hannah made my house a home. Hannah kissed me back that night by the fire like she meant it." "I did mean it." "Then that's enough. That's more than enough." He kissed her, not gentle this time, hard and desperate, like he was trying to find something in her, some proof that what they had was real. When they broke apart, both of them were crying. "We have to tell Lily," Hannah said. "She deserves to know." "I know. And the town. Beatrice will make sure everyone hears Josie's version if we don't get ahead of it." "I know that too." "And the marriage." Hannah's voice dropped. "It might not be legal. I signed the wrong name." "Then we'll get married again." Jacob's hands cupped her face. "Properly this time. With your real name. In front of God and everyone." "You'd do that, after everything." "I'd do more than that." He kissed her forehead. "I'd do anything to keep this family together. You, me, Lily. That's what matters. Not names, not papers, not what anyone else thinks." The door creaked open. Lily stood there, tear-stained, trembling. "Are you done talking?" Jacob held out his hand. "Come here, little one." Lily ran to them. Jacob scooped her up, and Hannah wrapped her arms around them both, and for a moment, the three of them just held each other. "Lily," Jacob said gently, "we need to tell you something." "Is it about Mama's name?" They both went still. "You knew?" Hannah asked. Lily nodded. "I heard that mean lady. She said your real name is Hannah." "That's right. I lied about my name. I'm not Josephine. I'm Hannah." "I know." Lily's eyes were clear, untroubled. "I like Hannah better. It sounds like morning." Hannah's tears started fresh. "You're not mad. Why would I be mad?" Lily looked genuinely confused. "You're still my mama. You still make the best bread and tell the best stories and let me sleep in your bed when I have nightmares. What does your name have to do with any of that?" The simplicity of it broke something open in Hannah's chest. "Nothing," she whispered. "It doesn't have anything to do with any of that." "Good." Lily wiggled down from Jacob's arms. "Can we have dinner now? I'm hungry." Despite everything, Hannah laughed. "Yes, sweetheart. We can have dinner." That night, after Lily was asleep, Hannah and Jacob sat by the fire, closer than before, touching because now they could, because the walls were down and the truth was out, and somehow, impossibly, they were still together. "Tomorrow we go to town," Jacob said. "We tell Reverend Whitfield everything. We get ahead of Josie's gossip. People will judge. People always judge. Let them. Beatrice will have a field day. Beatrice can go straight to hell for all I care." He pulled Hannah closer. "You're my wife. That's all that matters." "Not legally." "Then we make it legal. Sunday, after service. We stand up in front of everyone and do it right this time. They might not accept me. Some won't. Some will." He kissed her hair. "Either way, you're not facing it alone." Hannah closed her eyes and let herself lean into him. The lie was over. The truth was out. And somehow, against all odds, love had survived it. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Didn't know how the town would react, how Josie would retaliate, what challenges lay ahead. But for the first time since she'd boarded that stagecoach all those weeks ago, Hannah Brennan wasn't afraid. She was home. Really, truly, honestly home. And nothing was going to take that away from her. The ride into town the next morning felt longer than any journey Hannah had ever taken. Jacob held the reins with steady hands, but his jaw was tight. Lily sat between them, unusually quiet, sensing the weight of what was coming. "You don't have to do this," Hannah said for the third time. "We could wait. Give people time to forget." "People don't forget. Not in small towns." Jacob's voice was firm. "Better they hear the truth from us than Josie's poison from the gossip mill." "She's probably already told everyone." "Probably. That's why we're not waiting." They reached Cedar Valley just as the church bells struck 9. The streets were busier than usual. People clustered in small groups, conversations stopping mid-sentence as the Brennan wagon rolled past. "They know," Hannah whispered. "Let them look." Jacob pulled the wagon to a stop in front of the church. "We've got nothing to hide. Not anymore." Reverend Whitfield was in his office reviewing sermon notes. He looked up when Jacob knocked his expression carefully neutral. "Jacob. Mrs. Brennan." He paused on the name. "I've been expecting you." "You've heard then." "Miss Josephine Whitmore visited yesterday evening. She had quite a story to tell." Hannah's stomach dropped. "Whatever she told you." "She told me you're an imposter." The Reverend's voice was calm. "That you stole her identity and tricked Jacob into marriage. She showed me the original letters in her handwriting. She demanded I annul the marriage immediately." "And what did you say?" "I told her I'd speak with you first." Reverend Whitfield folded his hands on his desk. "So speak. Tell me your side." Hannah looked at Jacob. He nodded. "My name is Hannah Whitmore," she began. "Everything Josie told you is true. I came here under her name because my stepmother forced me to. The letters Jacob received were written in Josie's hand, but the stories in them were mine. My losses, my hopes, my life stolen and repackaged as someone else's. And you maintained this deception through courtship and marriage." "Yes, sir, I did." "Do you understand the seriousness of what you've done?" "I do." "Marriage is a sacred covenant. You made vows before God using a false name." "I know." Hannah's voice cracked. "I know what I did was wrong. I've known it every day since I arrived. But Reverend, I need you to understand something. I didn't come here to deceive a good man. I came here to survive. And then I met Lily." At her name, Lily pressed closer to Hannah's side. "I met this child who hadn't spoken in 2 years. This broken little girl who touched my face like I was something precious. And I fell in love with her. With Jacob. With this family. With the life I could have here." Hannah's tears fell freely now. "I know that doesn't excuse the lie. Nothing excuses it. But everything that came after that first deception, the love I've given, the home I've helped build, that was real. That was Hannah, not Josie." Reverend Whitfield was quiet for a long moment. "Jacob," he said finally, "you've been remarkably silent. What are your thoughts on all this?" "I think I married a liar." Jacob's voice was steady. "I think she deceived me in the worst possible way. I think I have every right to be furious." Hannah's heart shattered. "But I also think," Jacob continued, "that the woman I fell in love with is real. The name was wrong, but the heart was true. And I'd rather spend my life with an honest Hannah than a lying Josie any day of the week. You're not seeking annulment. I'm seeking the opposite. I want to marry her again, properly, with her real name, in front of the whole congregation if necessary." Reverend Whitfield leaned back in his chair. "Miss Whitmore was quite insistent that I refuse any such ceremony. With respect, Reverend Miss Whitmore can go hang." Jacob's jaw tightened. She wrote letters, using my wife's pain, and then had the gall to show up here demanding I swap one sister for another, like they're interchangeable goods. I won't have anything to do with her. And the congregation. Many of them are upset. Mrs. Harmon has been particularly vocal. Let them be upset. Let them judge. But don't punish Hannah for wanting a second chance just because some folks are too righteous to give her one. The Reverend turned to Lily, who had been watching the adults with solemn eyes. And you, little one, what do you think about all this? Lily didn't hesitate. Mama Hannah is my mama. I don't care what her name is. I prayed for God to send someone who would stay, and he sent her. Maybe she came with the wrong name, but she came with the right heart. Isn't that what matters? Reverend Whitfield's stern expression softened. Out of the mouths of babes, he murmured. Will you do it? Jacob pressed. Will you marry us again? Make it legal and proper and impossible for anyone to question. The Reverend was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. Sunday, after regular service. You'll stand before the congregation and tell them the truth yourselves. No hiding, no excuses. If you can face them honestly, and they don't run you out of town, I'll perform the ceremony. Thank you, Reverend. Don't thank me yet. You haven't faced the congregation. They left the church and stepped into chaos. Word had spread. The street was crowded with townspeople, their faces a mix of curiosity, judgment, and outright hostility. Beatrice Harmon stood at the front of the crowd, her expression triumphant. There she is, the fraud, the liar who tricked poor Jacob into marriage. Beatrice. Jacob's voice was a warning. Don't Beatrice me, Jacob Brennan. This woman made fools of all of us. She stood in that church and took vows using a stolen name. It's a mockery of everything sacred. It was wrong, Hannah said, stepping forward. You're right, Mrs. Harmon. What I did was wrong. The crowd went quiet. They'd expected denial's excuses, not admission. My name is Hannah Whitmore. I came here pretending to be my sister because I had no other choice. My stepmother would have thrown me into the streets if I'd refused. But that doesn't excuse the deception. I lied to all of you, and I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it, someone called from the crowd. No, it doesn't. Nothing can fix what I did. But I can tell you this: every moment I've spent in Cedar Valley, every friendship I've tried to build, every time I've helped a neighbor or shared a meal that was real. That was Hannah, not some performance. How do we know you're not lying now? You don't. Hannah's voice was steady, despite her shaking hands. You have no reason to trust me. All I can do is spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worth the second chance I'm asking for. And if we don't want to give you one, Beatrice's voice was sharp, then I'll accept that. But I won't apologize for falling in love with this family. I won't apologize for making Lily smile again, or helping Jacob's house feel like a home. Those things were true, even if my name wasn't. Silence. Then from the back of the crowd a voice. I believe her. Martha Dalton pushed forward. Her round face flushed with emotion. I've watched this woman for weeks. She's kind. She's gentle. She helped me with my shopping when I had all 3 children screaming and didn't ask for a thing in return. Martha planted herself beside Hannah. We've all done things we're not proud of. Some of us just haven't been caught. This isn't some minor transgression, Beatrice snapped. She committed fraud. She committed desperation. Aggie Morrison emerged from the crowd, her expression fierce. I've known Hannah, or whatever we're calling her, since she arrived. I've seen how she treats that child. That's not something you can fake. You're all being foolish. Maybe. Or maybe we're being Christian. Aggie stared Beatrice down. Forgiveness, Beatrice. Remember that it was in last week's sermon. The crowd shifted. Hannah could see opinions wavering, people reconsidering. Then Samuel Chen stepped forward. The Chinese laundryman who rarely spoke in public, who'd survived his own deceptions just to reach American shores. I came to this country with false papers, he said, his voice quiet but carrying. I said I was a merchant when I was really a laborer. I lied because I wanted a better life. This woman did the same. He looked at Hannah with something like respect. What matters is not how you arrive. What matters is how you live after. More murmurs, more shifting. This is ridiculous, Beatrice exploded. Are we really going to forgive her just because a few people vouch for her character? We forgave you, someone said. When your husband left. Beatrice went white. That's different. Is it? You said it was a business trip, told everyone for months. We all knew the truth and pretended we didn't because that's what neighbors do. I didn't commit fraud. You committed lies. Same thing, smaller scale. The speaker, an older man Hannah didn't recognize, shrugged. Cast the first stone and all that. The crowd was turning. Hannah could feel it. Not everyone, not yet, but enough. Beatrice must have felt it too. Her face contorted with fury. Fine, fine, forgive her if you want. Welcome the liar into your homes. But don't come crying to me when she deceives you again. She turned and stalked away, a few of her closest allies following. But most of the crowd stayed. Well, Martha said brightly. That was dramatic. Anyone else want to throw stones, or can we all go back to our business? Nervous laughter rippled through the group. People began to disperse, some offering. Hannah cautious nods, others avoiding her gaze entirely. That could have gone worse, Jacob murmured. It could have gone better. Give it time. Small towns have long memories, but they're not unforgiving. Not when you give them reason to forgive. The days leading up to Sunday passed in a blur. Hannah threw herself into preparation, partly to keep busy, partly to prove she deserved the chance she was being given. She baked bread for the church potluck. She helped Aggie with her quilting. She visited Martha's store and made conversation with everyone who would talk to her. Some people warmed up. Others remained cold. A few Beatrice's closest allies refused to acknowledge her at all. Let them sulk, Aggie advised. You can't win everyone. I'm not trying to win anyone. I'm just trying to be honest. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it isn't. Aggie patted her hand. Either way you're doing it. That's what counts. Saturday night, Hannah couldn't sleep. She lay in Jacob's arms, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing through every possible disaster. What if they refuse to witness it? She whispered. What if they walk out? Then we marry with whoever stays. What if no one stays? Then we marry with Lily as witness. Legal's legal. I don't want to force you into a scandal. Jacob propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at her in the darkness. Hannah, stop. I can't. I keep thinking about everything that could go wrong. Things already went wrong. Your sister showed up. The truth came out. We're still here. He kissed her forehead. Tomorrow we stand up in front of everyone and claim each other honestly. Whatever happens after that, we face together. You make it sound simple. It is simple. It's just not easy. She smiled despite herself. Where did you learn to be so wise? War teaches you things. What matters, what doesn't. How little time we really have. He pulled her closer. I wasted 2 years grieving for Mary. 2 years of barely living, just existing. I won't waste another minute worrying about what people think. Not when I've got you and Lily and a life worth fighting for. Hannah buried her face in his chest. I love you, she whispered. I know I should have said it before now, but I was afraid it would feel like another lie. But it's not. I love you, Jacob Brennan. The real me loves the real you. I love you too. His arms tightened around her. Hannah, my wife. Whatever name you wear, whatever papers say you're mine, don't ever doubt that. They held each other until dawn. Sunday morning arrived with crystalline clarity. Hannah dressed in the blue gown she'd worn for the first wedding. The same dress, but a different woman wearing it. Someone stronger, someone braver, someone who'd earned the right to stand before God and make promises she intended to keep. "You look beautiful, Mama," Lily said, watching from the doorway. "Thank you, sweetheart. I made you something." Lily held out a small object, a flower clumsily crafted from scraps of fabric. "For your hair, so everyone knows you're the bride." Hannah's eyes filled with tears. "It's perfect." The ride to church was silent, but not uncomfortable. The three of them sat close together, united against whatever was coming. The church was packed. More people than Hannah had ever seen crammed into pews and standing along the walls. Word had spread far beyond Cedar Valley. This was the scandal of the season, and no one wanted to miss it. Reverend Whitfield stood at the front, his expression solemn. "Before we begin today's service," he said as Jacob and Hannah took their places, "we have a matter to address. You've all heard the rumors about Mrs. Brennan. Today she's going to tell you the truth herself." Hannah stepped forward. Her legs trembled, but her voice was steady. "My name is Hannah Whitmore. 3 months ago I arrived in Cedar Valley pretending to be my sister Josephine. I lied about who I was because I was desperate. I fell in love with a man and a child who deserved better than my deception. I married Jacob under a false name, and that was wrong." The congregation was utterly silent. "I can't undo what I did. I can't take back the lies or the hurt I've caused. But I can stand here today and tell you the truth. I can ask for your forgiveness even knowing I don't deserve it. And I can promise that from this moment forward, I will be nothing but honest. With Jacob, with Lily, with all of you." She paused, gathering courage. "Jacob has asked me to marry him again. Properly this time with my real name. If any of you object to witnessing this ceremony, I understand. I won't hold it against you. But if you're willing to give me a second chance, I swear I'll spend the rest of my life earning it." The silence stretched. 1 second, 2, 10. Then Lily's voice rang out clear and strong. "I don't object. Mama Hannah is my mama, forever and ever." A ripple went through the congregation. Aggie stood. "I don't object. This woman saved that child." Martha rose next. "I don't object. Lord knows I've made mistakes too." One by one people stood. The Callahans, Samuel Chen, the doctor who'd delivered Lily, the blacksmith and his wife. Not everyone. Beatrice remained seated, her face like stone. A handful of others stayed down, their judgment unswayed. But enough. More than enough. Reverend Whitfield nodded slowly. "Then let us proceed." He opened his Bible. "We are gathered here to join this man and this woman in holy matrimony, not for the first time, but perhaps for the truest time." Jacob took Hannah's hand. His grip was warm, steady, certain. "Do you, Jacob Brennan, take Hannah Whitmore to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do." "And do you, Hannah Whitmore, take Jacob Brennan to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Hannah looked at the man before her, the man who'd chosen her twice, who'd seen the worst of her and wanted her anyway. "I do." "Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife, again." A small smile crossed the Reverend's face. "Jacob, you may kiss your bride." Jacob kissed her. The congregation burst into applause. Lily cheered and ran to wrap her arms around both of them. And Hannah felt something shift inside her. A weight lifting, a cage opening. She was Hannah Brennan now, legally, honestly, completely. No more lies, no more hiding, no more borrowed names or stolen identities. Just her, just them, just this family she'd found against all odds. As they walked back down the aisle, past the smiling faces and the few disapproving ones, Hannah squeezed Jacob's hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For choosing me, twice." He leaned close, his lips brushing her ear. "I'd choose you 1,000 times, Hannah. Whatever name you wear, whatever storms we face, I'd choose you every single time." Outside, the autumn sun was bright and warm. People gathered around them, offering congratulations, well wishes, cautious welcomes. It wasn't perfect. Some wounds would take time to heal. Some people would never fully accept her. But standing in the churchyard with her husband's arm around her waist and her daughter's hand in hers, Hannah realized something. She didn't need perfect. She just needed this family, this home, this love imperfect and hard-won and achingly real. That was enough. That was everything. Winter came to Cedar Valley with a vengeance. The first snow fell 3 weeks after the second wedding, blanketing the ranch in white and trapping them inside for days. Hannah found she didn't mind. The world outside could wait. Everything she needed was right here. Jacob taught her to play cards by firelight. Lily practiced her letters, her small tongue poking out in concentration. They ate simple meals and told stories and laughed at nothing in particular. "I never knew winter could feel like this," Hannah said one evening, curled against Jacob's side, while Lily slept with her head in Hannah's lap. "Like what?" "Safe, warm. Like being wrapped in a blanket instead of trapped in a cage." Jacob kissed her temple. "That's what home is supposed to feel like." Home. The word still made her chest ache with gratitude. By January, the gossip had died down. People had new scandals to discuss, new dramas to dissect. Hannah Brennan was old news accepted, if not fully embraced. Even Beatrice Harmon had stopped her public attacks, though she still refused to acknowledge Hannah's existence. That was fine. Hannah could live with being ignored. It was better than being hunted. "I ran into Mrs. Harmon at the Mercantile today," Hannah told Jacob one evening. "She walked right past me like I was invisible." Progress. Is it? 6 months ago she would have spit in your direction. Now she just pretends you don't exist. That's practically friendship by Beatrice standards. Hannah laughed despite herself. "Your standards for friendship are troubling." "I'm a troubled man." He pulled her close. "Lucky for me, I found a troubled woman to match." February brought a thaw, and with it something unexpected. Hannah woke one morning to a rolling nausea that sent her stumbling for the chamber pot. She barely made it in time. "You all right?" Jacob called from the bed, his voice thick with sleep. "Fine. Just something I ate." But the nausea came back the next day, and the next, and the next. On the fourth morning, as Hannah knelt on the cold floor, a terrible, wonderful suspicion began to form. "Aggie," she said that afternoon, catching the older woman after church, "I need to ask you something. Privately." Aggie's sharp eyes swept over Hannah's pale face, her trembling hands. Understanding dawned. "Come to my house. I'll make tea." An hour later, Hannah sat at Aggie's kitchen table, clutching a cup she couldn't drink. "How long since your last monthly?" 7 weeks. Maybe 8. "And the sickness?" "Just mornings." "Mostly. Sometimes afternoons, too." Aggie nodded slowly. "I'm not a doctor, but I've seen enough women in your condition to recognize the signs. Hannah, I believe you're with child." The words hit like lightning. A child. Jacob's child. A baby growing inside her, proof of everything they'd built together. "Are you sure?" "As sure as I can be without the doctor confirming it. You should see him to be certain, but—" Aggie's weathered face softened into a smile. "I'd bet my best quilt on it." Hannah's hands flew to her belly. Still flat. Still unchanged. But not empty. Not anymore. "I have to tell Jacob." That might be wise. Men tend to notice when their wives start vomiting every morning. Hannah laughed, the sound verging on hysterical. "A baby! We're going to have a baby!" "You are." Aggie took her hands. "And that child is going to be born into a family that fought for each other. That's something special, Hannah. Don't ever forget that." The ride home felt endless. Hannah's mind raced with fears and hopes and questions she couldn't answer. Would Jacob be happy? Scared both. Would Lily accept a sibling? Would a new baby change everything they'd built? She found Jacob in the barn mending a harness. Lily was at school, giving them rare privacy. "You're back early." He looked up, concern crossing his face when he saw her expression. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." Hannah took a breath. "I have to tell you something." He set down the harness immediately. "What is it?" "I went to see Aggie today. I've been feeling unwell, and I wanted her opinion." She paused. "Jacob, I think. I'm fairly certain. We're going to have a baby." The silence stretched for an eternity. Then Jacob was across the barn, pulling her into his arms, lifting her off her feet and spinning her around. "A baby!" He breathed against her hair. "Hannah, a baby. You're happy. Happy." He set her down, took her face in his hands. "I'm terrified and overwhelmed, and happier than I've been since—" He stopped. "Since Mary told me about Lily. It doesn't feel strange to compare." "No." His voice was firm. "Mary will always be part of me. But you're my future, Hannah. This baby is our future. There's room in my heart for all of it." "Love isn't pie," Hannah whispered, remembering a phrase Jacob had once shared with her. "Love isn't pie," he agreed. "There's always more when you share it." Telling Lily was even better than telling Jacob. A baby. Her eyes went huge. A real baby that I can hold. "When it comes, yes, you'll have to be gentle. I'll be the gentlest big sister in the whole world." Lily pressed her ear against Hannah's belly. "Hello, baby. I'm your sister Lily. I've been waiting for you for a really long time." Hannah met Jacob's eyes over their daughter's head. Both of them were crying. "I prayed for this," Lily said, looking up. "After I prayed for Mama Hannah, I prayed for a baby. God is very good at listening." "He is," Hannah agreed. "He really is." The pregnancy progressed through spring's muddy thaw and into early summer's bloom. Hannah's belly swelled, visible proof of the life growing inside her. The women of Cedar Valley rallied around her, bringing gifts and advice and stories of their own pregnancies. Even Beatrice Harmon thawed slightly. She didn't offer congratulations, but she stopped crossing the street to avoid Hannah. Progress indeed. "You've won them over," Aggie observed one afternoon. "Not with words or explanations, just by being yourself." "I didn't try to win anyone." "That's why it worked. People can tell when you're genuine, when you're not performing." "I spent so long performing," Hannah admitted. First for Miriam, trying to be invisible enough to avoid her anger. Then here, trying to be Josie. "I forgot what it felt like to just be." And now, Hannah rested her hands on her belly, feeling the flutter of movement within. "Now I don't think I could perform if I tried. I'm too tired and too happy and too busy growing a person to pretend to be anyone else." Aggie laughed. "That's the spirit." June brought a letter. Hannah recognized the handwriting immediately. Elegant, practiced, unmistakably Josie's. Her hands shook as she opened it. "Dear Hannah, I suppose I should say, dear sister, but we both know that word lost its meaning years ago. I'm writing because Mother is dead. She fell ill in March and refused treatment, and by April she was gone. The house has been sold to pay her debts. There wasn't much left after the creditors took their share. I've accepted a proposal from a widower in Chicago. Older, wealthy, looking for a wife who can manage his household and charm his business associates. It's not love, but it's security. You of all people should understand that. I won't apologize for what I did in Cedar Valley. I still believe I was right to try. But I'll admit that watching you with that man and his daughter, seeing how they looked at you, I'd never had anyone look at me that way. Not Richard. Not any of my suitors. They looked at my beauty, my accomplishments, my potential. Never at me. Perhaps you're the lucky one after all. You found something real. I'm still searching. I don't expect a response. I don't want one. I just thought you should know about Mother. Josie. Hannah read the letter 3 times before she could fully absorb it. Miriam was dead. The woman who'd made her life a misery for 6 years. Gone just like that, reduced to a few sentences in Josie's careless hand. She waited to feel something. Relief. Grief. Vindication. Nothing came. What is it? Jacob found her still sitting at the table an hour later, the letter on her lap. My stepmother died. Josie wrote to tell me. Are you all right? Hannah considered the question. I think so. I should feel more, shouldn't I? She raised me for 6 years. Even badly, that should mean something. It means whatever you want it to mean. No more, no less. She was cruel. Hannah's voice was flat. She hit me, starved me, told me I was worthless every day for 6 years. And now she's dead, and I don't feel anything at all. Maybe that's the healthiest response. Jacob sat beside her, took her hands. You don't owe her your grief, Hannah. You don't owe her anything. Josie's getting married, a wealthy widower in Chicago. Is she happy about it? I don't think Josie knows how to be happy. Hannah looked at the letter again. She said I was the lucky one, that I found something real. Did she? Yes. Well, Jacob's smile was soft. Broken clocks right twice a day, I suppose. Hannah laughed despite herself, then cried, then laughed again. Jacob held her through all of it. The baby came in late July on a night thick with summer heat and the smell of wildflowers. The labor was long, harder than Hannah expected. She gripped Jacob's hand until her knuckles went white, cursing and crying and wondering why any woman did this more than once. You're doing beautifully, Aggie assured her. Not long now. You said that 2 hours ago. And I meant it then too. Babies come when they come. Lily had been sent to the Morrison farm for the night, but Hannah could have sworn she felt her stepdaughter's presence. Praying, probably. Lily had been praying for weeks. Just before dawn, the pain crested one final time, and then there was pressure and release, and the most beautiful sound Hannah had ever heard. A baby's cry. It's a boy, Aggie announced, her voice thick with emotion. A perfect, beautiful boy. They placed him on Hannah's chest, and the world stopped. He was so small, so fragile, red-faced and wrinkled, and absolutely perfect. Hello, Hannah whispered. Hello, my sweet boy. I'm your mama. Jacob leaned over them both, tears streaming down his weathered face. He's got your eyes, he said. Gray like the sky before snow. And your stubbornness. He took his time. Brennan trait. We're never in a hurry. What will you call him? Aggie asked. Hannah looked at Jacob. They'd discussed names for months, never quite settling on anything. William, Jacob said softly. After my father. He died when I was 10, but he was the best man I ever knew. Until this little one came along. William. Hannah tested it. William Jacob Brennan. Too many syllables. He'll hate us. He'll love us. We're his parents. That's a pretty low bar. It's the only bar that matters. Lily arrived mid-morning, dragged from the Morrison farm by her own impatience. She burst through the door and skidded to a halt beside the bed. Is that him? Is that my brother? That's him. Hannah adjusted the sleeping bundle in her arms. William, meet your big sister. Lily peered at the tiny face with utter solemnity. He's very small. He'll grow. He's wrinkled. That will smooth out. Lily's face broke into a radiant smile. He's perfect. He's absolutely perfect. I love him. You just met him. I loved him before I met him. I loved him when he was just a prayer. Lily climbed carefully onto the bed, settling against Hannah's side. Thank you for bringing him, Mama. Thank you for praying him here. I pray for everything now. It works better than I expected. Jacob laughed, the sound bright and free. Remind me never to argue with you, little one. You've got God on your side. Everyone should have God on their side, Lily said matter-of-factly. He's very helpful. The summer faded into autumn. William grew chubby and curious. his gray eyes following everything with intense interest. Lily appointed herself his guardian, narrating every moment of his day in a running commentary that made the adults laugh. He's looking at the ceiling again. I think he sees angels. Do babies see angels, Mama? Maybe. I think they see everything we've forgotten how to notice. I'm going to make sure he never forgets. I'm going to tell him everything. And she did. Every day, Lily told William stories. About the ranch, about Papa and Mama. About the time before Mama came, when everything was sad and quiet. About the prayers she'd prayed, and how they'd all come true. You came from God, she whispered to him one evening, thinking no one could hear. Just like Mama did. I asked for you both, and he sent you. That makes you miracle babies. Hannah, listening from the doorway, felt tears slide down her cheeks. She's something else, Jacob murmured, coming up behind her. Our Lily. She saved us, both of us. You know that, right? I know, she saved herself too, found her voice again by giving you a reason to stay. I would have stayed anyway, once I met you. Would you? Hannah turned in his arms. I'd have found a way, even without Lily. You were worth fighting for, Jacob Brennan. So were you. Still are. They stood together watching their children in the fading light. Lily whispered secrets to William. William cooed back, his tiny fist wrapped around his sister's finger. I never imagined this, Hannah said quietly. When I was in St. Louis, scrubbing Miriam's floors, I never let myself imagine anything this good. It seemed impossible, cruel to hope for. And now I can't imagine anything else. This is my life. You, Lily, William. This ranch, this town, this place where I finally get to be myself. Hannah Brennan. Hannah Brennan. She smiled. Wife, mother, former liar, current optimist. That's quite a resume. I've lived quite a life. Jacob kissed her slow and sweet, with none of the desperation of their early days. This was the kiss of people who had time, who had forever. I love you, he said against her lips. I love you too, my. Even when the roof leaks. Especially when the roof leaks. It gives you something to complain about. I don't complain. You grumble. It's charming. He laughed and held her tighter. That night, after the children were asleep, Hannah stood at the window and looked out at the mountains. She thought about the woman who'd boarded that stagecoach all those months ago. Terrified, desperate, convinced she was worthless. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone new, someone who'd fought for love and won, someone who'd told the truth when it mattered and been forgiven anyway, someone who'd built a family from broken pieces and made it whole. Coming to bed, Jacob called from across the room. In a minute. She pressed her palm against the cold glass. I made it, she thought, against all odds, despite everything. I made it. The mountains stood silent, indifferent to her epiphany. They'd been here for millennia. They'd be here long after she was gone. But right now, in this moment, Hannah Brennan existed, was loved, belonged, and that was miracle enough. She turned from the window and walked toward her husband, toward their bed, toward the life she'd never dared to dream. Behind her, the mountains kept their watch. Ahead of her, the future waited. And for the first time in her life, Hannah wasn't afraid to meet it. She had arrived in Cedar Valley with nothing but lies and desperation. She would remain with everything that mattered. A husband who chose her twice. A daughter who prayed her into existence. A son who carried their hope into tomorrow. A home built not on perfection, but on truth. And a name finally her own that she would wear with pride until her final breath. Hannah Brennan. Found, forgiven, free.